It's the beginning of testing season here at McGolf, and we have a lot in store. Let's see what the new offerings from Callaway and their iron department's looking like. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is the McGolf channel where you learn about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings. Also, your scores can go low. This isn't any different. On Mondays, we have a live stream, and it's What's in My Drawers Golf Talk, and we talk about the same stuff. It happens at 17:30 or 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us. It's a discussion with folks from around the world. All right. All right, new offerings. It's no secret that Callaway is releasing the new Paradym, the Paradym. And they say a Paradym, and it's the Paradym in golf club design, golf club performance, all that stuff. And in normal cases, what you would see is a normal model, a pro model, and some sort of draw bias model. This year is a little different. They're releasing the Paradym and the Paradym X, all right? And what are they? All right, what do they share in common? Well, both of them have a forged 455 face. They're going to always talk about a forged iron, and it's in the face, all right? So both of these have faces, and there we go. And it's a face that lies within a supportive body. And it is a supportive body that they're trying to mimic the jailbreak with, okay? And when they do that, it's not a forged framework, it's just a steel framework of some variety that the forged face sits in. However, the AI does have a lot of input into the way that this thing looks and performs and feels in the whole 9 yards. Now, what else do we have in this? Well, we have dual tungsten setup, meaning that there's a chunk of tungsten in the toe, a chunk of tungsten in the heel. For some of them, it will change as the club itself changes, and it's surrounded by urethane microspheres. And the urethane microspheres is what makes this thing feel soft. So we have very low center of gravity, we have lots of weight in the bottom, we have a lot of dampening going on there, so it has this softer feel with the forged face and the body. Now, because of the new design in this body, basically they're hollow bodies. Okay, they're hollow bodies. But they don't look it. That's the cool part. Normally in the hollow bodies, they have this really bulbulous kind of look to them. Not all, but most. And these with the cap on the back, and with that cap on the back, it does look pretty. It looks pretty decent. Okay, it does look pretty good. So what are some of the things that are going on? So in the regular Paradym, you have the back cap. And the back cap is what covers up, in some cases, where the weighting is going, where the urethane microspheres set, and it gives it a decorative look at a dress. Okay? If you look at it, it's actually a very condensed looking head. It's not, in some of the previous Callaway designs, they've been pretty long or they've been pretty tall, have some sort of scoop out of them. This one looks pretty compact. It looks very good to the player eye. Now the regular one, which normally has a lot of offset on it, in this particular instance does not. It has what I would call a minimal offset. All right, and also included is the top line. Callaway is known for their thicker top lines. They're not known for the butter knife small stuff. And in this one, it is no different, except for it does look a little bit thinner in the fact that it's got a little bit of a chrome accent on the back to where it's rounding in order to make it look a little smaller. So at address, this looks like a good ball strikers type club. However, it is also very strong with a 27-degree 7-iron. All right, now in days past, we would be talking about that loft at a 5-iron and being thinking, wow, what are we going to do next? Now we're into the 7-iron. All right, so it's going to be a very strong club, and it starts at the 4, and we'll go down into the pitching wedge, attack wedge, gap wedge. So you're going to have 3 wedges. Now, the sole on this is not it's not narrow by any shape of the imagination, but it is not wide. I would say this is an acceptable width an acceptable sole width when you're talking about in comparison to, say, the Paradym X. All right, you can just see that the Paradym X is a little wider. Okay, so we have a less offset, we have a stronger loft, we have a compact design, we have a forged face into a steel body that's hollow body-like with lots of weight really low and a pretty good look. It's got the blue and the gold together that they've been known for, and it's a good look. So, what's the Paradym X? The Paradym X is it's very similar, except for when you look at the badge in the back, you'll notice that there's a shelf. And the reason for this shelf is there's extra weight on the bottom. In the Paradym itself, you had right around upwards of 69 grams of tungsten in the bottom. In this one, you have upwards of 79 grams. So that extra weight in that same place didn't go up, it went out. Okay. Now, the blade length is also longer. This is more in the traditional, what you would think a Callaway club would look like. It has significantly more offset. It has a little bit more weight on the bottom. And outside of that, the parameters are the same. They have all the AI face, the 455, steel body, hollow body, the whole 9 yards. Now, on this one, the top line is noticeably thicker. All right, and the sole is noticeably wider. And it's a game improvement club, so okay, there you go. Now, this one also has, I've seen 2 sources. One will say this is 29 and a half, and I've also seen one, I've only seen a singular spec sheet. So let's go with the fact that they're going to stay the same. Okay, let's stay the same. So now the real trick is, what's it going to like when we test it? All right, in this particular instance, what you're going to be seeing is I've put in 10 shots for the Paradym and the Paradym X and my gamer, which happens to be a Rogue Pro. Turns out that they're all the same loft angle. Now, in the Paradym, what we're seeing is right here is in every instance I'm hitting to my inside. Keep in mind I'm a lefty. Okay, I'm a lefty. And the Paradym's going out, and it makes a pretty decent pattern for a 7-iron, not bad beginning of the year. And what I'm also seeing, although you're not seeing it, that the acceleration profile on this thing is really working well. What did I use? I used a hazardous silver shaft. I just wanted to try it out and see what was happening. It was working well. And the next 10 was for the Paradym X. Now, with the added offset, one would think that I would be pulling it more to my inside. Well, what I found out I was doing is the offset in it was allowing my hands to set forward, and I was still squaring the club. So as you will see here in where the landing or the grouping section of the landing areas is that the Paradym X was just ever so slightly smaller, and they were both literally laying on top of each other between the Paradym and the Paradym X, save one shot. All right, between one shot. All right, and then I take my gamer and I threw that a little bit, who should have never went that particular direction, but it did, and it went one went way righter than the went way right, and the rest of them were in that same area. So what did we find out after it was all said and done? Well, we found out that the Paradym and the Paradym X were virtually the same, save maybe a yard. Okay, maybe a yard. What the specs were within, we would call it nothing to really worry about. You know, hundreds of RPMs. In fact, launch angles within a degree. The quality of hit was virtually identical. Swing speeds were within a half a mile an hour of each other, so it was actually a pretty good test. So they both did very, very well. Now, what is it in comparison to my gamer? Okay, so now what we're talking about is that everything is the same, right? And it's just new technologies. Did it work? The answer is yeah. Yes, it did. Had a slightly lower quality of hit, very similar swing speeds, and I was a couple of yards shorter. Now, now keep in mind, this is not a driver. The 10 yards extra rule does not apply, but it was longer and it was tighter, so it did do its job. So let's go back and talk about who this would find out for. All right, so we did find out. So we hit them, right? I hit all three, and when I say all three, I hit the Paradym X, and my gamer. The gamer is the Rogue Pro. And the thing is, it's very similar in shape. It's very similar in shape, very similar in a lot of technology that's going on, except for the face. And it is a hollow body as well, so I thought this was a pretty good setup. Now, I also used my rifle is a 105 is the shaft that I was using in it. So it wasn't exactly same to same, but close enough. You get the idea. So what do I think? Well, in comparison, there is a noticeable difference in feel. The club in the Paradyms are actually softer. When you even find the sweet spot, not finding the sweet spot, and that's going to be a big thing going on this year is when you're off center, what's it going to do? And on the Rogue Pros, you notice almost immediately when you've hit off the center. In these Paradyms, you're finding out that it doesn't, you know that you're there, you're off center, however, it's not nearly as penal. The other part is that this thing actually feels pretty good when you hit it. Everything about it was just smooth. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. It was all smooth. Now, I thought maybe the offset would do something a little bit differently for me, and in this particular instance, it did not. But the wider sole is probably something I would not want to have to happen, because I do want things to push off to the left for me, being a lefty, so I can tailor things into a golf course. Alrighty, so the last bit of this, the offerings that they have this year are going to be the Hazardous Silver. It's a Gen 4 shaft, and they're going to be in multiple weights. They're going to be in the Elevates. They're going to be the steel options this year, 85 and 95 grams through the spectrum. In the lightweight, in the A-Flex or the Ladies Flex, you're probably going to see the Accent. All right, the Accent. So those are there. So what do I think? The Paradym is going to be a club that fits tons of golfers, right? It could be a beginning golfer with some athletic ability, some experienced golfers, and even some better golfers. Because of the sole width, the less offset, the compact design is really going to look good to people at address, okay? The Paradym X has significantly more offset, but it's not a super gross amount of offset. So those folks that have a little bit of trouble closing the club, this one will be for you, all right? And that's really the difference. Now, if you're a guy that takes, or a gal, that takes a digger shot or takes a heavy divot, the X model will be more beneficial for you because of the wider sole. They don't have a lot of radius. There's some, but not a lot. So the width of the sole will play more of an important role in the digging than anything else. Now you have the options with these shafts. The Hazardous Silver actually is a very nice shaft. I was using the 60 stiff, and it was popping it out there, and I was actually throwing it through there. It was really easy to bring the club around. The Elevate and the 85s and the 95s are going to be probably a little more traditional, and then they also have other shafts that you can ask for if you like a heavier club. So keep in mind that you're going to go pitch, attack, gap before you start getting to the sand wedge. Everything is tighter. So in today's clubs, if you had, say, the Rogue, is it going to be a massive distance difference between the two? No, it's not. However, will it be more consistent? Yes, it'll be more inside and quite possibly feel a bit softer. Okay, is it something I would jump to if I had a series of Rogues? Probably not. But if I had a set of clubs that were a couple of years old, I'd seriously give these a consideration, just because of the quality of the build, the numbers that you can generate, and the fact that it actually feels very, very good. Okay? So again, if you have any questions about the Paradyms, just put them in the show notes below, and we'll answer them as much as we possibly can. Keep an eye out for our live streams on Mondays at 5:30 Eastern, and we'll try and help you out that way. And as always, let's see your scores go low.